So, cosplay. Cosplay, or costume play, is a hobby that is all about dressing up as your favorite fictional characters. At least, that's what it is on the surface. People put on pretty dresses or suits of armor, and that's all she wrote. Yes, but also no. Cosplay is so much more than that. Cosplay is my main hobby. Cosplay is one of the biggest parts of my own life. I can't even lie. Cosplay is a hobby for some people. Cosplay is a job for some people. Cosplay is a lifeline for some people. So let me talk about this hobby, or job, or personality trait, whichever one you want to call it, that basically took over my life. But to find out what cosplay is, we need to talk about the history and the evolution of cosplay. Hey, so I'm too lazy to to clean my room and move things around, so I'm just moving the camera angle instead of how I usually do it. But anyways, the history and evolution of cosplay. Masquerading technically finds its origin in European festivals, but like, do you want me to start from people wearing clothes from the beginning of human time, fucking Adam and Eve feeling shame for being nakedness? I'm not going to start from there. Let's start from its more contemporary history, because that's how cosplay started, with costuming. While masquerading is known for being a part of every single fandom, it was not always like that. Even though I don't know anything about this fandom, I have to give so much thanks from my hobby to the Trekkies, also known as Star Trek fans. Masquerading is said to have started in 1939 in New York City with the masquerader Morojo in New York City Con. The two costumes that Morojo made, one for herself and one for her guy friend. The guy did not make the costumes. Morojo made the costumes. I don't care what y'all say. Morojo made the costumes. But these costumes really kicked off the hobby. And just 1 year later, we see in 1940s Worldcon, the first costume masquerade was shown on their stage-ish. I'm not really sure how cons in like 100 years ago worked, but close enough. Because of the boom in popularity of these masquerades at sci-fi cons, the masquerades became more and more popular, with more and more masqueraders joining in. There's a steady growth of many different handmade costumes being shown. There's also many different cons that started to open up and obviously get more masquerades as well as masqueraders. The first Comic-Con ever was held in 1970 at the Grand Hotel in San Diego. Wow, San Diego. I wonder what Comic-Con is held in San Diego that's ever lovingly popular, and maybe I believe one of the biggest conventions in the world. Definitely didn't start off because of this. No. We didn't see a big breakthrough of masquerading or masqueraders until 1971, where naked masqueraders started showing up to the conventions. Yes, I hate to break it to you, OnlyFans girls are not the first people to be masquerading while naked. They had their titties out since the 70s. And I'm not sure how cons would feel if I decided to do a historically accurate Star Trek costume while I'm naked. The 70s, we also see some costume masquerades grow to over 100 people a year. We also see this is where we see the origins of craftsmanship competitions as well as performance competitions, with many cons having judges and awarding costume contests. And I think it's wild that they were able to get to 100 participants in the 70s. Nowadays, I believe the biggest costume contest in Canada is Anime North, and they can't crack 100 contestants most years. So the fact that they were doing this back in the 70s, our forefathers, I'm so sorry. You see some cons have short skits and performances, while other cons have simple model walk-ons, again, of showing how our typical cosplay craftsmanship competitions work today. Some competitions you have to do a fully realized skit, while other competitions you just walk on stage, hit 3 poses, and you're done. Let me say something really quick, because we're into the 70s right now, right? And I have not been using the word cosplay, even though this video is literally called Intro to Cosplay or Cosplay 101 or whatever the hell I decided to call it. I've been using the word masqueraders. Well, there's a reason for that. Cosplay started in the USA, but cosplay, the word itself, finds its beginning in Japan, and it didn't start off with the word cosplay. The man, the myth, the legend, known as Nobuki Takahashi, came down to LA for LA Worldscon in 1981 and fell in love with the hobby of masquerading. When he was going to write about this hobby in his magazine, My Anime, it felt weird to use the word masquerading because the term masquerading or masquerades have a different meaning in Japan. I believe it's more so like acting and things like that. So he decided to take the word costume and the word for play and mix them together. Costume play, which again, we know it as cosplay. The word didn't take long to grab hold of the community, even outside of Japan, and people still use the word cosplay to this day. It only took about a year for the word to catch on. Now for the history that I know, the 90s. I need to preface this by saying I was born in 2007. I do not know anything about living in the 90s. I just have family members who were nerds in the 90s, so that's where I get my information from. I was not born in the 90s, Gang Squad. In the 90s, anime started to grow in the West. So guess what we start to see? Anime cosplays, bitches with their Sailor Moon fufus, fukokos. You know what I'm trying to say. You also see anime conventions pop up, again, where I come in because I love a good anime convention over a Comic-Con. And a huge part of these anime conventions were their cosplayers. In the 90s, we also start seeing some people use cosplay as a job, with cosplay cafes opening up, like maid cafes, in Japan. If you want to see a video on the history and just maid cafes in general, I have it somewhere here. But here's the, thumbnail if you want to check it out. Some cosplay cafes that opened up in the 90s were the Para Carrot Cafe that opened up in 1997 and obviously contributed to the rise of the popularity of cosplay cafes, which we still have to this day. In 2003, one of the biggest cosplay contests in the world, World Cosplay Summit. If you don't know about World Cosplay Summit, but you know cosplay, I need you to look it up right now. But World Cosplay Summit started for the first time in 2003. It only had 5 cosplayers from around the world come to Japan to host panels and have discussions about cosplay. In 2004, it would grow to over 100. With the big iconic Osu parade, that's one of the things World Cosplay Summit is known for, to showcase cosplay all over the world and cosplayers from all over the world. It wasn't until 2005 where World Cosplay Summit would decide to start the contest part of it, which is the big thing that everyone knows World Cosplay Summit for. They pick 2 contestants each year from a different country to represent their country in a big cosplay Olympics, basically. And a little fun fact for my Canadian babes, Canada didn't join the World Cosplay Summit until 2015. I honestly thought that we were one of the first countries, but honestly, our cosplay scene is low-key small, so maybe not. In 2008, the word cosplay was added to the Oxford Dictionary, sharing that it was no longer this small niche hobby between nerds, but it was gaining mainstream attention. Obviously not the biggest mainstream attention ever, but big enough to get added to the dictionary. And there was not much to come up between the 2000s until the internet. Yes, babes. This is how I found out about cosplay. This is most likely how you found out about cosplay. It was the goddamn internet. The internet changes everything, but it especially changed cosplay. It wouldn't be far off the ball to say most people watching this video found about cosplay through the internet, found out their favorite cosplay fandoms through the internet, found a tutorial on how to cosplay through the internet or something like that. It could be you searching through cosplay YouTube to find tutorials, you looking through cosplay Instagram posts to find someone cosplaying a character you love, cosplay TikToks, or even the freaky deaky stuff on other cosplay websites. We see people like Camly Cosplay, a pillar in our community, who posted tutorials, and the rise of famous cosplayers on the website cosplay.com, which is still running, fun fact. I thought, there's not obviously that many people on cosplay.com as I'm assuming there used to be, but I went on cosplay.com yesterday. There's still people actively posting there. We also see cosplayers who start to go viral on the internet. One of the first and most popular cosplayers to do so was Jessica Nigri, who needs no introduction because her 2-piece Pikachu cosplay blew up everywhere. I don't blame them. Jessica Nigri is hot as fuck. Jessica Nigri, if you ever see this, you're an inspiration. With the internet, we also see the change of people making their cosplays to people being able to buy their cosplays online. Because cosplay, or even online shopping in general, wasn't this big thing, it wasn't as accessible for people to buy their cosplays, and most people had to use bed sheets or random fabric from the fabric store to buy their costumes. It wasn't like I can go online, type in Google, and say Starfire cosplay and get 100 results. So most people had to make cosplays with those evil materials. But with the addition of cosplay shops, It added an even bigger boom to this hobby because it made it more accessible, especially for people who just did not want to sew or craft their own cosplays. Once again, we see a steady rise from the 2000s to the 2010s of cosplay, especially with cosplay on the internet. But in a certain year, we see cosplay on TV. Cosplay on mainstream TV, not this niche $1 billion a month cable channel. The show Heroes of Cosplay aired on the Sci-Fi Network in America, and this opened up cosplay to even more people because, again, it's on TV. This helped legitimize the hobby for so many people. So many young people's parents who did not know what cosplay was saw the hobby that their child has been talking about for weeks on the television. Of course, I want to see what's up. It also opened up the gateway for people to understand that cosplay was a job. One of the main characters of Heroes of Cosplay was Yaya Han, the queen, the pinnacle, our monarch, our empress of cosplay. She shared that cosplay was a job for her, but we will talk more about professionalism and being a job in cosplay later on in this video. From the entrance of Heroes of Cosplay to all the way to about the 2020s, cosplay was on a steady incline. Nothing too big happened here, at least nothing too big of note happened here, until a certain year you might know as 2020. Yep. The pandemic. Pandemic started and conventions had to shut down. Cosplay meetups shut down. Photo shoots shut down. World Cosplay Summit had to shut down. What would happen? None of these cool things for cosplay could happen. You would think that cosplay in itself would to crumble. No one was able to cosplay at conventions anymore. What were they going to do? And everyone thought that the cosplay hobby was going to die out this disease, this pandemic. But no, it didn't. Obviously. We know this. We know the 2020 rise of cosplay. The young adults who were stuck at home and had nothing to do said, why not? And searched up physical cosplay on Amazon. Bought it, posted a video in their TikTok room, and blew up. Cosplay, especially with the rise of TikTok in the pandemic, blew up. It introduced so many more people to the hobby, not in the traditional sense of seeing cosplayers at a convention or seeing them every once in a while on cosplay.com or on Instagram, but this was the main source where people got their cosplays from. Cosplay did not die with the pandemic. I say it got even stronger. It got even bigger. Cosplay grew so much. The COVID pandemic did so much bad, but for fandom spaces, I think that it did some pretty good stuff. And the cosplay community has not been bigger. But on a real note, cosplay has grown so much from the humble days of cosplayers showing up to the nude in conventions to cosplayers who have never cosplayed at cons and have only cosplayed for online. No matter how you do it, cosplay has grown so much. So let's talk about the different types of cosplayers that we may see. So, when it comes to cosplaying, there are many different types of cosplayers out there, but I'm going to break it down into about 5 categories, and let's understand that the categories are not exclusive. You can fit into one of these categories, you can fit into 2 of them, you can fit into all of them. But here's are the categories how I personally see it of cosplayers. First off, you have the cosplay content creators. This is how I started cosplay, and it's how you're watching my YouTube video. I'm still a content creator, babes. These cosplayers may focus on doing photo shoots or posting online and taking time to film skits and TikToks in their bedroom or at conventions or blah blah blah. Some cosplayers also do content creation to do content creation for cons, similar to how I do when I post event media at different conventions. They spend time scourging the internet for the perfect sound to do their perfect dance to for all their adoring fans and followers. This sounds really cocky. They also may share YouTube videos though about the cosplay hobby or other topics that interest them within cosplay, as well as doing convention vlogs and convention vlogging to their YouTube. Next up is the competition cosplayers. These are cosplayers who act out skits on stage or craft their own costumes and sometimes even do both to compete in craftsmanship competitions on stage and have their work be judged by master level cosplayers who can give back to help the cosplayers improve on their costumes. Competition cosplayers are the backbone, I'm not even gonna lie, of the craftsmanship community in cosplay and spend hours painstakingly sewing, sanding, filming, priming whatever costume that they're working on. Next is a casual cosplayer. Someone who maybe makes their cosplay, maybe buys their cosplay, but they cosplay for fun. They don't try to post it too much on social media, don't try to compete every once in a while, maybe go to the convention in their cosplay, get a few photos with some cosplayers that they enjoy, and that's really it for them. We have the professional cosplayers who make money, and not chump change, like money from cosplay. But again, I will go into more detail about cosplay as a job later. And last but not least, we have the cosplay fan. I'm bullshitting. Just 5 sounded better than 4, and I couldn't think of any other types of cosplayers, so this is what you're left with. I'm sorry. But my side rant aside, we've talked about the different types of cosplayers. Let's talk about the different styles of cosplay. So when it comes to the styles of cosplay, let's just go down the list, because I have a whole, you've been noticing I've been reading off my phone the entire time. I have a 10-page document I'm reading off of. Let's get to reading this list. First off is the cross-dresser, or cross-dressing in cosplay. When someone cosplays someone of the opposite gender and tries to emulate the opposite gender. So let's take me cosplaying Dante from Devil May Cry. Instead of letting my women parts show, I will wear maybe a muscle suit. I will maybe put a sock in my pants, you know, to try my best to emulate the way a man looks. I could do heavier contoured, less the soft makeup style, maybe even get rid of the lip gloss, because, you know, Dante is stinky and probably doesn't wear lip gloss. The next would be a gender swap. This is a little different compared to cross-dressing. Cross-dressing is where you're trying to emulate the opposite gender. Gender swap is where you're trying to have the character emulate the gender that you are. So again, if I cosplay Dante from Devil May Cry, instead of cosplaying my lady parts, I might put Dante in a bra. Or maybe I give him a skirt to wear. You could also gender swap if you're, like, if I decided to cosplay Ochako from My Hero Academia, but I wanted to make her a man, but I'm a woman, I could still do a gender swap cosplay that way. It's basically just switching the gender of the character compared to switching the gender of yourself. Next up would be the Arrow cosplay. Erotic cosplay. Sexy cosplay. This is like lingerie cosplays. You take Hatsune Miku and you put her in a hot, sexy lingerie. That's basically how you do it. Next is Kigurumi cosplays. I thought that Kigurumi was like a style of fursuit, which I think it still is, but the Kigurumi that I found out is actually onesies cosplay. So these are like the cosplays that they sell on Mick Costumes. It's just a big onesie. The Jurihan costume from Street Fighter 6. A lot of people do Kigurumi Pokemon style cosplays because they're really easy to convert the animal style to the, you know. But you could also do a Kigurumi of a real life character. Not sure how you do it, but it's still possible. Next up is the Gijinka. You've seen these cosplays before. It's where someone takes a non-human design and turns it into a human costume. So like a human Low Bunny cosplay, which I want to do so stinking bad. I want to do a Low Bunny cosplay. I want to do a Gijinka Low Bunny cosplay. Or a lot of Pokemon cosplayers do it. A lot of Digimon cosplayers do it. The guy from Final Fantasy, white guy from Final Fantasy, he's also really popular for Gijinka designs. We also have drag cosplay, which drag can be its own thing, but drag can also be a style of cosplay, which is an exaggerated form of cosplay and gender expression. You know how I said you can gender swap your character, gender swap your person? Just crank that gender knob to 1,000. The cheekbones of a man, make them higher. The eyebrows of a woman, make them bushier. The beard, make it longer. Drag is just an extended form of gender expression. We have fursuiters and mascots. Furries, mascot costumes. Take a Pokemon character and turn it into a fursuit. I don't know how to explain furriness. Furries! And last but not least is a mashup cosplay. This is where you take 2 different characters or 2 different ideas and decide to mash them together. So let's say I like Miku, and let's say I like Mitsuri. Again, you can tell I'm looking around my room to see which character I have the most merch of. But I will mash up these 2 characters together to make a Miku Mitsuri mashup cosplay. That actually sounds like a good idea. Maybe. Now that you know a little bit about the different styles of cosplay and the different types of cosplay, let's talk about cosplaying as a job, because so many cosplayers have been able to make this hobby their main form of income. They pay their mortgage with cosplay. So let's see. Yes, cosplayers are able to make cosplay their job, but let's be honest, only 0.000000001% of cosplayers are able to make their lifeline on cosplay. For a lot of people, it's only a hobby, and for a lot of people, it should stay only a hobby, because it's really hard to make this a full-time job. Cosplay is still cosplay, you know? But let's start off with the different ways that some cosplayers are able to make money through cosplay, whether that's full-time or just some extra income. First off is the commissioners. These are people who make cosplays or props or wigs or shoes for other people. The most popular ones that I've seen are the wig stylers, because I don't want to say it's less, but it's a little less than building a full costume from scratch for someone, you know? It's not the easiest to make a lot of money from, because you need to get your name out there, you need to get a decent flow of people coming in to commission you. But from what I'm hearing, the sewers, like the people who sew costumes, have it the worst, and the wig stylists are some of the people who have it the best. Do not inhale those blue fumes though, do not. Next up would be the booth babes, one of the older forms of pro cosplaying. Let's say a company wants to promote their new movie or their new video game or something. They might have a booth at these different anime conventions and comic conventions to promote their new movie or game. And the best way to promote it is to hire cosplayers to work that booth and cosplay the character from their media. One of the most popular examples of this is Lollipop Chainsaw and Jessica Negri, Lollipop Chainsaw, the video game, one promotion had Jessica Negri dress up as their main character, Juliet Scarlet, and fly all over the globe to promote the game at their booths. They had people come up, take photos with her, because once you get a photo with a cosplayer, you have to remember, oh, what were they cosplaying from again? Oh, that new game coming to Xbox, blah, blah, blah. You still see these at a lot of big cons. There's also other forms of booth babes nowadays, where it's famous cosplayers or local cosplayers who have their own personal booth to promote themselves. They can sell art prints, they can sell hand-drawn merch, handmade merch, they can sell props, but these booth babes are not attached to a company unless they're attached to like a social media agency, but more so just attached to themselves. Next up is character performers, one of the most popular ways of making money as a cosplayer, because that's one of the most stable form of incomes. This is your Disney princess party performers. These are your K-pop demon hunter performers nowadays. We also see a lot more people doing like Love and Deep Space cosplayers at the bars and the clubs who pretend to be these characters for people. It's more than just cosplaying, but it's also role-playing, pretending to actually be that character. I'm honestly not sure how much money they make. Like the party princesses and like the K-pop demon hunter princesses, we can tell. But like the Love and Deep Space girl boys, how much money do y'all make? Next up, we have people who make money from content, like sponsorships, Ko-Fis, follow me on Ko-Fi, Patreons, OnlyFans, all that stuff. You also have people who get paid for YouTube AdSense or whatever. This is pretty hard to do because you have to grow on social media. And growing on social media is, number one, a mix of luck and a mix of understanding the algorithm. Mostly luck, let's be so honest though. But this is another way that people have made cosplay into their job. Being on Ko-Fi has helped me get some income from cosplaying. So this is honestly a valid way of making cosplay your job. There's also people who have made money from cosplay helping. By that, I mean people who produce tutorials or sell patterns or even sell books on cosplaying and how to cosplay. Once again, Kamui Cosplay is pretty popular for that. While they do a mix of different ways of doing cosplay as their job, one of their biggest things is that they sell EVA foam patterns. Cos Payton, another popular cosplayer, sells sewing patterns to help cosplayers learn, and that's a big portion of income that they make from cosplay. But definitely not least, there's Yaya Han, who owns a fabric line, owns an EVA foam line, owns a line of sewing machines, everything. I don't know. That woman was selling cat ears, patented cat ears. Shout out Yaya Han. A lot of this video has been me talking. Am I the only person who cosplays? No. There are so many other cosplayers who have their own opinion, so many other cosplayers who have their own form of cosplaying. So I asked some cosplayers to share what cosplay means to them. And they sent in their responses. So here is a few of those responses from those cosplayers, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I've always been interested in the act of cosplay, with being in the anime and manga, so it was generally just became something I naturally gravitated towards. Seeing other Black cosplayers' photos on Pinterest back when I was 11 years old and always wanting to do it since. My biggest recommendation is to find a character you're passionate about and bring it to life in your own way. No need to start off making it from scratch either or trying to make it perfect. Just make it exist first and perfect it later. I also recommend getting a few basic wigs and clothes that can apply to a few characters. That way you can cosplay more characters without having to buy new stuff for each character. It's like having 2 cosplays or more in one. This can be any way you want. Closet cosplays are super helpful in the beginning if you want to focus more on wigs and makeup. Also, my favorite thing with cosplaying is cosplaying with friends, so you can lean on them for support and skill if they're willing to help. Cosplay is for everyone, so even if you're a beginner with wigs, sewing, props, etc., you're still a valid cosplayer. If you are posting on TikTok, try to find audios that match with your character and save them for later. Or if you have cosplay friends, even better and more fun. If you can, try finding a tripod and a ring light. You could find them affordably online and it doesn't have to be big. Smaller is better. If you're planning a photo shoot, try practicing the poses for the character and find a photographer friendly environment. You may not instantly start getting followers and likes, but the more consistent you are over time, those things will come along. I am a crafter and activist kind of cosplayer. I don't necessarily craft to enter competitions, although I've entered a few, but more to showcase how cheap materials and products can make amazing cosplays. I'm also very educated on what's going on in countries around the world, and I try to help educate others with reliable information and facts about what these active occurrences. It really depends. I went to school for costume making for TV and film at FIDM, so I make most of my costumes and I find joy in that process. But I also equally like the fluidity and self expression that comes from makeup side of things. I've been trying harder to document that process, but I'm definitely lacking in that department. I'm a plus size cosplayer who advocates for body positivity and a safe space in the community. For me, I mainly cosplay characters from anime and games, so my advice is pretty similar to how you should get started. There's not really a right or wrong way as long as you're being respectful and having fun with your ideas. For idling or performing, though, my biggest piece of advice is just to apply. If you have an idea, submit the application. Even after performing for nearly 3 years, I still get nervous every time I'm backstage. But you begin to realize that the heart racing feeling stems from how important your performance is to you, and the audience is always so supportive regardless of what you perform. People are just excited to see your idea on stage. Don't worry too hard, you got this. I do a lot of acting via TikTok posting cosplay, so I do a lot of character studying. I built playlists of sounds that I think I might want to use that correlate with the character and rewatch scenes in order to get a better grasp. I think I do cosplay like otherwise in appearances, but what makes me stand out from some is the acting that I like to do. Prioritize yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. Make sure that you eat and stay hydrated, and make sure that what you do there will always make you the happiest. Cosplaying or attending a con is never supposed to be stressful or feel like work, so make sure that you plan your day and make it as stress free as possible. Also, saying hello to other cosplayers or booths is a really great way to start meeting more people. It's definitely nerve wracking, but chances that the person you speak with will be super excited to know that their work paid off. And who knows, maybe they'll want to say something to you too. Comfort over canon. I don't care how canon you want to be. Bring extra shoes. It's so much fun walking and standing that it's not worth it being uncomfortable all day. Back when I discovered cosplay, it was more freedom and acceptance. Accuracy didn't matter, and no one was too worried or cared about how bad their cosplays were and how fun conventions were way before 2020. Now, with social media popularizing cosplay in 2021, it's treated more like a trend hopping popularity contest for people outside of the community. People that bullied us for liking cosplay or being involved in fandom spaces and nerd culture are starting to get into cosplay and pretending to be a weird kid because it's a trend. And as time goes by, they go back to their regular lives and screw us all over again. But then again, I remind myself, I'm doing this hobby for myself and I could still find friends who have happened to have the same interests as me. I think the realm of cosplay has drastically changed from when I first started in 2021, from cosplaying in my room for TikTok to present day cosplaying at cons with friends and being invited to cosplay events and photo shoots. It's changed in a way that makes things so much more fun and exciting to take part of. I feel like it's a hobby where we all need to support each other. It's not as looked down upon anymore. More and more people are joining the cosplay community, and I hope in the future everyone can be supportive of each other. But that might take a while. There are many positives to being a cosplayer, such as being able to explore and do more self expression, coping through means of acting and dressing up, and showing others what you love, finding and making friends with the people who you love as well. I mean, the positives are truly endless. Getting to heal your inner child by dressing up as all your favorite characters. It's something that's both a social and creative as well. Getting to use many skills and outlets for one hobby. It's also a hobby that boosts my self esteem, allowing me to be genuinely myself in my craft and who I portray in cosplay. As someone who's more active in the social media aspects of cosplay, everyone is desperate for attention, whether it's through likes and follows or in general, or having their 15 seconds of fame through a viral TikTok slash reel. I myself accidentally fell down this rabbit hole, and it's not a good feeling. It leads to burnout and negative feelings, and it's not just yourself, but also the hobby. I've been trying to unlearn this behavior and rediscovering what made the hobby fulfilling to begin with. And that was the community with like minded people instead of strangers on the internet and focusing on my cosplays and how they make me feel rather than numbers. Self confidence issues and not recognizing yourself can become a problem after doing this cosplay for a while. But I think the bigger issue has to come up really bad in the last few years is has the pressure of popularity and the pressure of putting out content at an unimaginable speed. The cosplay community is very wide and vast. Do not feel afraid to put on a cosplay and have fun however you want, wherever you want to go anywhere, or stay in your room. Cosplay is for everyone. You don't need to be canon to the character, you don't need thousands of followers, or to handmake every costume with expensive equipment and materials to be a good cosplayer. There's no such thing as a good cosplayer or a better cosplay. The only thing that makes a good cosplay is who you are as a person and how you contribute to the community. Cosplay is low key, not even low key. Cosplay is high key my entire life. I spent so much of my formative years obsessing over cosplay. Before I even got into cosplaying, I was planning my first cosplays. I was designing how I'd make the cosplays on my notebook ever since elementary school. Before I even picked up my first sewing needle to try to make my first cosplay. Cosplay means so much to me. Most of my friends, if they're not coming from school, they come from cosplay. Most of my time is spent content creation for cosplay or crafting cosplay or something in the middle like that. Every time I pick up a new piece of media, I'm wondering, how can I cosplay that? I started playing Pokemon Ultra Moon today. Guess what? Lily's cosplay, I already have a skit planned for a cosplay competition to do with Lily. I love cosplay. And while, yes, I make money from cosplay, and while, yes, I get some likes and some clicks on social media for cosplay, it's so much more inside of me. Weird, but it's so much to me. And I wanted to share this hobby with you guys. I love cosplay. I don't know what else to say. I love cosplay. I love cosplay. I love cosplay. Oh my gosh. I love cosplay. But let me stop being annoying. Let me be clear. And let me go to the outro because I don't know. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. I do appreciate this. This is probably the longest script I've ever made for a YouTube video. I know my Black History Month video is long, but like those were other people's responses. This is all me. This is mostly me. There's still other cosplayers who helped out with this. Appreciate all the cosplayers from the other part of the video. But yeah, this was a lot, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I love cosplay. I love cosplay so much. And I don't know. I don't know what else I'd do without cosplay. If you want to check out my cosplays, I post daily on Instagram as well as TikTok, and I post whatever the fuck I want on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter. If you want to support me monetarily or even see extra cosplay sets and out of cosplay sets from me, you can check out my Ko-Fi. I feel like I should say this. My Ko-Fi says 18 plus. It's not like the Ko-Fi app itself is 18 plus, but the content I post is not 18 plus. I don't know why Ko-Fi is like that. But anyways, subscribe if you want to see more YouTube videos coming from me. And that's it. Bye!
When I see you, I go nuts. Please, baby girl, let me touch on them cocoa nuts. Let me get the milk with the cocoa puffs. Feeling kinda freaky, get the go-go cuffs. Oh shit, we're Inspector Gadget. I don't even know, but I've been done had it. Listen, from your life, I'm what's missing. So stop frontin', let me touch that kitten. Meow!